May 19th. 2 Chronicles 32, 33, and 34. 2 Chronicles 32. After these matters and this trustworthiness, Sanherib, sovereign of Ashur, came, and he entered Judah and encamped against the cities of defense, and said to break them open to himself. And Hezekiah saw that Sanherib had come, and he set his face to fight against Jerusalem. And he took counsel with his rulers and mighty men to stop the water from the springs which were outside the city. And they helped him. And many people were gathered, and they stopped all the springs and the stream that ran through the land, saying, Why should the sovereigns of Ashur come and find much water? And he strengthened himself, and built up all the wall that was broken, and raised it up to the towers, and outside of it another wall, and strengthened Millo, the city of David, and made large numbers of weapons and shields. And he appointed battle officers over the people, and gathered them to him in the open space at the city gate, and spoke to their hearts, saying, Be strong and courageous, do not be afraid, nor be cast down before the sovereign of Ashur, nor before all the enemy that is with him. For with us there are more than with him. With him is an arm of flesh, but with us is Yah our Elohim, to help us and to fight our battles. And the people leaned on the words of Hezekiah, sovereign of Judah. After this, Sanherib, the sovereign of Ashur, sent his servants to Jerusalem, but he himself, and all his power, with him against Lachish. And Hezekiah, sovereign of Judah, to Hezekiah, sovereign of Judah, and to all Judah who are in Jerusalem, saying, Thus said Sanherib, the sovereign of Ashur, On what are you trusting that you remain in Jerusalem under siege? Is Hezekiah not persuading you to give yourselves over to die by scarcity of food and by thirst, saying, Yah our Elohim shall deliver us from the hand of the sovereign of Ashur? Has not Hezekiah himself taken away his high places and his slaughter places, and ordered Judah and Jerusalem, saying, Bow yourselves before one slaughter place, and burn incense on it? Do you not know what I and my fathers have done to all the peoples of other lands? Where the mighty ones of the nations of those lands in any way were the mighty ones of those nations of those lands in any way able to deliver their lands out of my hand? Who was there among all the mighty ones of those nations that my fathers put under the ban, that could deliver his people from my hand, that your Elohim should be able to deliver you from my hand? And now, do not let Hezekiah deceive you or persuade you like this, and do not believe him. For no mighty one of any nation or reign was able to deliver his people from my hand, or the hand of my fathers, much less your Elohim, to deliver you from my hand. And his servant spoke even more against Yah Elohim, and against his servant Hezekiah. And he wrote letters to reproach Yah Elohim of Israel, and to speak against him, saying, As the mighty ones of the nations of other lands have not delivered their people from my hand, so the Elohim of Hezekiah shall not deliver his people from my hand. Then they called out with a loud voice, in the language of Judah, to the people of Jerusalem who were on the wall, to frighten them and to trouble them in order to capture the city. And they spoke against Elohim of Israel, the Elohim of Israel, the Elohim of Jerusalem, and against the mighty ones of the people of the earth, the work of men's hands. And the sovereign Hezekiah and the prophet Yeshayahu, sons of Amoz, prayed about this, and cried out to the heavens. And Yah sent a messenger, who cut down every mighty brave one, both the leader and the commander in the camp of the sovereign of Ashur. And he returned shamefaced to his own land, and went into the house of his mighty one. where some of his own offspring caused him to fall by the sword. Thus Yah saved Hezekiah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem from the hand of Sanherib, the sovereign of Ashur, and from the hand of all others, and guided them on every side. And many brought gifts to Yah at Jerusalem, and presents to Hezekiah, sovereign of Judah. And he was exalted in the eyes of all nations thereafter. In those days Hezekiah was sick and near death, and he prayed to Yah, and he spoke to him, and appointed a sign for him. However, Hezekiah did not repay according to the good done to him, for his heart was lifted up. Therefore wrath came upon him, and upon Judah and Jerusalem. Then Hezekiah humbled himself for the pride of his heart, he and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, so that the wrath of Yah did not come upon them in the days of Hezekiah. And Hezekiah had many riches and esteem, and he made himself treasuries for silver, and for gold, and for precious stones, and for spices, and for shields, and for all desirable utensils, and storehouses for the harvest of grain, and wine, and oil, and stalls for all kinds of livestock, and folds for flocks. And he made cities for himself, and possessions of great number of flocks and herds, for Elohim gave him much property. And Hezekiah himself had stopped the upper outlet of the waters of Gihon, and directed them to the west side of the city of David. And Hezekiah prospered in all his work. However, with the envoys of the princes of Babel, whom they sent to ask him about the wonder which that was done in the land, Elohim left him, in order to try him, to know all that was in his heart. And the rest of the acts of Hezekiah and his loving commitment, see, one moment. Alrighty, we're back. And the rest of the acts of Hezekiah and his loving commitment, see, they are written in the vision of Yeshayahu the prophet, son of Amoz, in the book of the sovereigns of Judah and Israel. And Hezekiah slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the upper burial sites of the sons of David. And all Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem esteemed him at his death. And Manasseh, his son, reigned in his place. 2 Chronicles 33. Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. But he did evil in the eyes of Yah, according to the abominations of the nations, whom Yah dispossessed from before the children of Israel. For he again rebuilt the high places, which Hezekiah his father had broken down, and raised up slaughter places for the Baals, and made Asherim, and bowed himself to all the host of the heavens, and served them. And he built slaughter places in the house of Yah, of which Yah had said, In Jerusalem is my name forever. And he built slaughter places for all the host of the heavens, in the two courtyards of the house of Yah. And he made his sons pass through the fire in the valley of the son of Hinnom, and practiced magic, and used divination and witchcraft, and consulted mediums and spiritists. He did much evil in the eyes of Yah to provoke him. And he placed a carved image of the idol which he had made in the house of Elohim, of which Elohim had said to David and to Solomon his son, In this house and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, I put my name forever. And no more shall I remove the foot of Israel from the soil, which I have appointed for your fathers, only if they guard to do all that I have commanded them, according to all the Torah and the law, and the right rulings by the hand of Moses. Thus Manasseh led Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem astray, to do more evil than the nations, whom Yah had destroyed before the children of Israel. And Yah spoke to Manasseh and his people, but they did not listen. Therefore Yah brought upon them the commanders of the army of the sovereign of Ashur, who captured Manasseh with hooks, bound him with bronze shackles, and made him go to Babel. And when he was in distress, he sought the face of Yahweh his Elohim, and humbled himself greatly before the Elohim of his fathers, and prayed to him. And he was moved by his entreaty, and heard his supplication, and brought him back to Jerusalem into his reign. And Manasseh knew that Yah was Elohim. And after this he built a wall outside the city of David, on the west of Gihon, in the Wadi, and as far as the entrance of the fish gate. And it went round Ophel, and he made it exceedingly high. And he put army commanders in all the walled cities of Judah. And he removed the foreign mighty ones and the idol from the house of Yah, and all the slaughter places that he had built in the mount of the house of Yah and in Jerusalem. And he threw them out of the city. And he built the slaughter place of Yah, and gathered slaughterings and peace offerings and thanks offerings on it. And ordered Judah to serve Yah Elohim of Israel. But the people were still slaughtering on the high places, though only to Yah their Elohim. And the rest of the acts of Manasseh, his prayer to his Elohim, and the words of the seers who spoke to him in the name of Yah Elohim of Israel, see, they are written in the book of the sovereigns of Israel. And his prayer and his entreaty, and all his sin and his trespass, and the places where he built high places, and set up the Asherim and carved images, before he was humbled. See, they are written among the words of the seers. So Manasseh slept with his fathers, and they buried him in his own house. And his son Ammon reigned in his place. Ammon was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 2 years in Jerusalem. But he did evil in the eyes of Yah, as his father Manasseh had done. And Ammon slaughtered to all the carved images which his father Manasseh had made, and served them. And he did not humble himself before Yah, as his father Manasseh had humbled himself. For Ammon trespassed more and more. And his servants conspired against him, and killed him in his own house. But the people of the land struck all those who had conspired against sovereign Ammon. And the people of the land set up his son Yoshiyahu to reign in his place. 2 Chronicles 34. Yoshiyahu was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And he did what was right in the eyes of Yah, and walked in the ways of his father David, and did not turn aside right or left. And in the 8th year of his reign, while he was still young, he began to seek the Elohim of his father David. And in the 12th year he began to cleanse Judah and Jerusalem from the high places, and the Asherim, and the carved images, and the molded images. And they broke down the slaughter places of the Baals in his presence, and the sun pillars, which were above them, he cut down. And the Asherim, and the carved images, and the molded images he smashed, and ground them up, and strewed it on the surface of the burial sites of those who had slaughtered to them. And he burned the bones of the priests on their slaughter places, and cleansed Judah and Jerusalem. And in the cities of Manasseh, Ephraim, and Shimon, as far as Naphtali, in their ruins and all around, he broke down the slaughter places and the Asherim, and ground the carved images into dust, and cut down all the sun pillars throughout all the land of Israel, and returned to Jerusalem. And in the 18th year of his reign, when he had cleansed the land and the house, he sent Shaphan, son of Atzaliahu, and Maaseyahu, the head of the city, and Joah, son of Joaz, the recorder, to repair the house of Yah his Elohim. And they went to Hilkiyahu the high priest, and they gave the silver that was brought into the house of Elohim, which the Levites, who kept the doors, and gathered from the hand of Manasseh and Ephraim, and from the remnant of Israel, and from all Judah and Benjamin, and which they had brought back to Jerusalem. And they gave it in the hand of the workmen, those appointed over the house of Yah. And they gave it to the workmen who worked in the house of Yah to repair and strengthen the house. And they gave it to the craftsmen and to the builders to buy hewn stone and timber for couplings and for beams for the houses which the sovereigns of Judah had destroyed. And the men did the work trustworthily, and over them were appointed Yahath and Obed-Yahu, the Levites, of the sons of Merari, and Zechariah and Meshullam of the sons of the Kehathites to oversee, and of the Levites, all of whom were skilled in instruments of song, and over the burden bearers, and overseers of all who did work in any kind of service, and of the Levites who were scribes, and officers, and gatekeepers. And when they brought out the silver that was brought into the house of Yah, Hilkiah the priest found the book of the Torah of Yah given by Moses. And Hilkiah responded and said to Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the Torah in the house of Yah. And Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan. And Shaphan brought the book to the sovereign, and the sovereign brought the sovereign word, saying, all that has been given into the hand of your servants they are doing. And they have poured out the silver that was found in the house of Yah, and have given it into the hand of those appointed and the workmen. And Shaphan the scribe informed the sovereign, saying, Hilkiah the priest has given me a book. And Shaphan read it before the sovereign. And it came to be, when the sovereign heard the words of the Torah, that he tore his garments. And the sovereign commanded Hilkiah, Ahikam, son of Shaphan, and Abdon, son of Milcah, and Shaphan the scribe, and Asaiah, a servant of the sovereign, saying, go inquire of Yah for me, and for him who is left in Israel and in Judah, concerning the words of the book that is found. For great is the wrath of Yah that is poured out on us, because our fathers have not guarded the word of Yah, to do according to all that is written in this book. Then Hilkiah and those of the sovereign went to Huldah the prophetess, the wife of Shalom, son of Tokath, son of Hasrah, keeper of the wardrobe, who was dwelling in Jerusalem in the second quarter. And they spoke to her about this. And she said to them, thus said Yah, Elohim of Israel, say to the man who sent you to me, thus said Yah, see, I am bringing evil on this place, and on its inhabitants, all the curses that are written in the book, which they have read before the sovereign of Judah, because they have forsaken me and burned incense to other mighty ones, to provoke me with all the works of their hands. Therefore my wrath is poured out on this place, and is not quenched. And to the sovereign of Judah, who sent you to inquire of Yah, say this to him, thus said Yah, Elohim of Israel, whose words you have heard, because your heart was tender, and you humbled yourself before Elohim, when you heard his words against this place, and against its inhabitants. And you humbled yourself before me, and tore your garments, and wept before me. I also have heard, declares Yah. See, I am gathering you to your fathers, and you shall be gathered to your burial site in peace, so that your eyes would not see. Sorry. So that your eyes would not see all the evil that I am bringing on this place and its inhabitants. So they brought word back to the sovereign. And the sovereign sent and gathered all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem. And the sovereign went up to the house of Yah with all the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and the priests and the Levites, and all the people, both great and small. And he read in their hearing all the words of the book of the covenant, which had been found in the house of Yah. And the sovereign stood in his place and made a covenant before Yah to follow Yah and to guard his commands and his witness and his laws with all his heart and all his being, to do the words of the covenant that are written in this book. And he made stand all who were present in Jerusalem and Benjamin, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem did according to the covenant of Elohim, the Elohim of their fathers. And Yoshiyahu removed all the abominations from all the lands that belonged to the children of Israel, and made all who were present in Israel diligently serve Yah their Elohim. All his days they did not turn away from following Yah Elohim of their fathers.